Well, my reality changed because I had to let go of friends and relationships that I thought I loved and I thought loved me. I didn't care about any of those things anymore. I was hurting. I was lost. I was confused. Everything I've accomplished didn't make sense. I didn't know who I was. It was just weird. I felt so disconnected from spirit. Like it was just such a tough, dark time in my life. But thank God to information and wisdom, I didn't give up. I just kept researching. I'm on YouTube every day. Like, what's the dark night of the skull? I was trying to understand it. What triggers it? And I was reading all these books. And then more, I would get clarity. I would get more momentum. And then things would happen. And I start praying again and things would start shifting. And so the reality.
Eric, thank you for taking the time to join me on this platform. It's miracle season, baby.
Yes, it is.
Let's
Every day, all
go.
day.
Let's go. I was fortunate enough to to meet you and have a conversation with you and really have a deep conversation about like just our philosophies in life. And I was like, man, I got to have this dude on my podcast. And the fact that you're from Baltimore originally is so meaningful and coincidental, maybe, or synchronous
Yeah.
or whatever you want to term that. But yeah, dude, I had to have you on. So thank you.
But thank you for having me. I think before we got on, I was just expressing to Trey, I was just saying, like, I'm just so grateful to be on a platform. And I think sometimes in life, we have things given to us or naturally appear in our life. It's not that we don't use it properly. We just forget that it's giving us energy. This is a consciousness, your platform, your podcast, everything that comes through this vortex of this being, this thing. So I'm grateful to be here to talk about whatever the universe wants us to bring to light and bring to fruition. So it's an honor. I'm excited and I just love it.
Sure, man. So let's talk about your journey a little bit. I think that's important to give some context. I mean, coming from
Yeah.
Baltimore, I'm starting to find more people having these conversations like here locally, but it's far and few between. But in LA, it seems like everyone's having these conversations. But like, were you aware of like your I don't know, some of your philosophies before moving to LA? Like, how did it start for you in Baltimore?
Yeah. So, in Baltimore, I kind of grew up, in the inner city, west side of Baltimore, like off of North Avenue. And it was great. I was raised by, kingpins. If people know who those are people who run the neighborhood, you know, dealing drugs, doing whatever, but they do things for the right reason because that's what happens. That's my normalcy. That was my normalcy growing up. I played basketball. I went to school. I had the opportunity to go to City College High School on the east side of Baltimore. Then I went to Howard Community College where I played junior college basketball for 2 years. And then I went to Hampton University where I graduated in 2010 in VA. And so outside of looking in, coming to LA at 2010, the philosophy, all I had was I had so much faith in myself. I had so much belief. I was a leader. I wasn't a follower. So if I wanted to do something, I'm doing it. I don't care what it takes. I'm jumping in. I'm going. So what I realized at a young age of 22 was that I didn't want to be in Baltimore after college. I had a government job at the Census Bureau in Suitland, Maryland. I didn't like the cubicle life. I didn't want to work there. So my intuition led me to LA. I got three different opportunities where came home from graduation. I graduated May 9th, 2010. Barack Obama spoke at my graduation, which was cool. And my dad set me down. He was like, son, I think you should get out of Baltimore. You should go to LA. Like, LA, okay, Pops, what's that about? And my dad wasn't that much of a guider growing up. He was like a provider. He was the dad that bought me the sneakers, the video games. He took me to practice for basketball. I've never seen my mom and dad together, so I kind of grew up with a single mom. Dad was in the streets. He changed his life around and got better, but that was my paradigm. So at this moment in my life at 22, I'm like, damn, okay, Dad, like I gotta listen to this because we never had this type of conversation. So I leave that. I go to a friend's mom's house to get a graduation gift for graduating from college, and she said, Eric, I think you should go to LA. Okay, is this a coincidence? Like those are two signs they don't know each other. I don't. My dad doesn't know his mom doesn't know my dad. Never met him. Don't even talk about it. Cool. This is all the downloads and energy and information I'm downloading in my younger self. I go back to Hampton University to clean out my apartment that I was staying in. I apply for a job, LA sports marketing. Within 2 hours of my submission of the application, they want to interview me. at this time, I'm like, I think it's like maybe June, like the first week of June. I think I had my graduation party like, oh, it was the last week of May before June. I had my graduation party June, was it June 5th? And then I booked a one way ticket to LA June 12th. And that's how LA was initiated and activated. It's because of those three signs, right? And I want people listening, like, and sometimes in life, we looking for answers and people we love, but the universe was giving me all the signs I needed. I just was so attuned to be aware, like, oh, that's three signs. Those are three nudges. Okay, I need to be in LA. So I came. The interesting thing was I stayed in a hotel my first 2 weeks here. Shouts out to my aunt Renee Myers. She's incredible. So such an inspiration. She looked out for me, but the job I went on an interview for was kind of a scam, right? They played on the innocence of young kids coming out of college with a degree to kind of sell door to door services for like minor league baseball. Like it was weird. And I think when I went in the interview, they were so shocked by how I was speaking and what I was thinking that they never called me back. So here I am in LA, thought I had a plan because I thought I had a job that didn't work. However, I knew I wasn't going back home. And so from there, man, that's just when my journey, I call it the hero's journey, started for me at 22, 2010. And I just, I took the call and I just went through life. And now I'm here. Your superior self.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So where are you at in that hero's journey? Like, where would you say if you had to like put a marker on it? Like, where are you at?
Well, on this side of my journey, it's like I got through my first phase. The first phase for me was chasing my dreams, right? I did that. I accomplished a lot in a way of I've written 2 books, podcasts, TV shows, traveled the world. I'm like, ooh, I always say your dreams is more like your ego self. So I kind of like hit, I would say about 82% of those goals and dreams. And just last year, coming off the dark night of the soul, I'm on the other side of my soul, right? Of my soul calling. There's a quote I always say. I got this from Tony Robbins. I don't know if it's his quote. Um, Success is getting what you want, and fulfillment is doing what you're made for. So now I'm in a space where I'm in my alignment of my soul's assignment, and I get to do the things I really love and enjoy. And I don't have to hide myself, right? I feel like when I was at the TV things and all the things, I was presenting this character because I wanted to be liked. I wanted to be loved. Like growing up with that emotional abandonment wound in my body and my vessel because of what I didn't get from my mom. I wanted people to like me for who I was and what I could accomplish. And it was just like a false narrative because it was from a lack and scarcity paradigm because I didn't get that love growing up. So I was like, well, maybe if I be successful, if I look a certain way, if I'm a perfectionist, if I do everything right, maybe people will be proud of me and they'll like me. And then that ego had to die, right? That identity had to die, right? And so now I'm just in this space of my full authentic self. I don't have to do anything but show up and be present. And however that is okay. I can have radical acceptance and responsibility for this man, for this individual, for this soul, without having to look or be or speak a certain way. And it feels good, man. It feels good to be surrounded by genuine people. It feels good to be around some authentic souls. And it also feels good to have more spiritual people in my life because I didn't have this prior because I was in a matrix of chasing these dreams and I had a lot of like take your energy around me, leech energy, and people who just wanted to be a part of the story but didn't want to be in the story that I was in. And it was challenging because like, what are you mad about? You're on TV, you do this, you do that, you got brand deals. Like I wasn't as happy as it looked because I wasn't living my true self. I was living a part of myself I thought I had to be for people to like me. And so now I'm just like, hey, we here. What's up, man? I'm E. I'm not Eric, right? I was like, people want E. They don't want Eric. So I realized I could just be E from Baltimore. I don't got to be Eric, the guy who moved to LA and changed his life. I don't have to be that. It's okay.
Sure. Well, so was there a catalyst or like was there a self-realization moment that's, was it the work, the totality of that work that eventually led you to this perspective, or was there like a one
Yeah, well, I
moment
mean,
that
there was a lot of events. So for one, I've been doing healing and self work on myself my entire life. Like I've done so much work on myself. However, I avoided relationships for a long time because of my career, the things I wanted in life, right? I was in a relationship. My relationship triggered this awakening. My dad almost died last year. That triggered my awakening. I got into it with friends that I've never had any challenges with. All that stuff that was so close to my heart triggered this awakening. And so it really set me down in the mud of life. Like, yeah, this is your real life. Yeah, this happened to you. You're no different. And that would really open me up to like, hold on, I can't live like this no more. I can't be this person. I can't act like everything's good and everything's fine when I'm feeling like shit inside. Like, I'm just a positive guy who's sad inside. And I don't want to know it. So I'm gonna just hide it with motivation and content and positivity, where I'm the one really suffering, right? And so once I could accept that it's okay, then it was a question I asked myself. The question was, Eric, do you love yourself if you're not successful, if you're not accomplishing things, if you're not looking at serving? I said, I don't. I didn't love myself unless I was providing, helping, doing, being this person I thought I should be. And honestly, it was a pattern that kept my ego alive. And then I just had to kill that pattern and kill the ego. And now, I'm thankful for that relationship. I'm thankful for my dad almost leaving this earth. Like that was spooky, man. Like it was scary because at that moment I was so low in life and I was trying to figure out because I was going through my ego death, right? But my dad needed me. I've never in my life seen my dad cry. He's like, son, I need you to come home. I need your energy. So it just like woke up another beast in me, like, and there was no money. There was nothing I could do. All I had was my spirituality, and I prayed. And I prayed again. And then I prayed again. And then I prayed again. Then I started seeing my power in the spiritual realm. And that's when I knew, like, this is who I really am. I'm really a spiritual guy who can do all these cool things, but I have power within me that can help people change and evolve their life. Because of the work I did, I just didn't allow myself to receive the work I did. So I kept a mask on.
Mm. So hit on that a little bit, right? So you had the brand deals, you had your own TV, and you had this kind of awakening,
Hmm.
a real self-realization, and then
Hmm.
you really found that internal endogenous power. And so, like, how did that change your reality, right? Like, people would perceive you as successful with the brand deals, with on television, all of the things, money, but then you make this internal adjustment, and now you're really finding your true power. Like, how does your reality change?
Well, my reality changed because I had to let go of friends and relationships that I thought I loved and I thought loved me. And they loved me at that level that I was in. And I didn't care about any of those things anymore. Like I didn't give those things power over my life, over my existence. The brand deals were great, the TV shows were great. They also gave me life experiences I've never experienced before, right? But they wasn't fulfilling because it was like an empty vessel that I was in because I was covering up my true self through it all. Um, and so with that being said, the reality is that those things wasn't real. Like they wasn't. Like cool story, bro. You got a brand deal, you're on TV. Cool story. But you're from Baltimore. You grew up in a lot of pain. Your mom, dad, whatever wasn't in your life the way you wanted. Oh, but you're trying to live this narrative to make everybody else happy, but you're not happy. And so I had to realize like it's okay. I don't have to neglect my true self to make the world happy. And so I just realized those things wasn't real. Like when you turn the TV off, when you get off of social media, when you're not posting, like what's your real life? What were you in that moment going through that transition? I was hurting. I was lost. I was confused. Everything I've accomplished didn't make sense. I didn't know who I was. It was just weird. I felt so disconnected from spirit. Like it was just such a tough, dark time in my life. But thank God to information and wisdom, I didn't give up. I just kept researching. I'm on YouTube every day. Like, what's the dark night of the skull? I was trying to understand it. What triggers it? And I was reading all these books. And then more, I would get clarity. I would get more momentum. And then things would happen. And I start praying again and things would start shifting. And so the reality of it wasn't real. All that stuff I did it wasn't real. It was just a moment in my life that was fun. But the real life was the people who I was on the phone with when I was going through the most, not my followers, not the people who saw me on TV who were fans. None of that was real. That was just a part of the real that they saw on Instagram, right? And so I just had to accept like who really loved me for me and not what I can do for them. And who am I if I'm not doing anything? Can I just sit still and be safe in my nervous system? Or do I feel like I always have to stay busy to not feel anything? So I sat myself down and said, oh, I think it was like the end of last year, so contrast, like I had did a TV show. When I did the TV show, the Sherry Show, I did a fitness segment. It was great. It was amazing. But people don't even know I had just got out of a relationship in November. I had lost some of my closest friends, but yet I'm in New York about to go on TV and I'm by myself. And while that moment was great, that was real for those 6 minutes I had. But when I'm back to my hotel, it's back to reality. Damn, a year and a half relationship gone. My friendships for 10 plus years gone. I'm in New York by myself. Yeah, I just did a TV show. And I got back from New York. I got sick. It was so crazy. I got sick. And then I was like, you know what? I was in this apartment and I was in the middle of the floor crying in tears. Like, why me? Like, why is this happening? How did I get everything taken from it I thought loved me or I thought I loved? And then I said, you know what? I don't even care. I don't even care. Like, whatever happens, happens. Because I was fighting the fear of, what if I'm not what I want to be? What if I lose everything? I was like, no, I don't even care no more, man. I just surrendered. Like I completely surrendered. And I don't know what happened. Just like this weight just came off for me. And I was just like, I was lighter. And I was just like, all right, that's where we at. And I just trusted that process of that moment. I let myself feel those emotions. And I just didn't care anymore. I think I cared so much about what people thought or felt about me and what I was doing, what I wasn't doing. I just didn't care. I didn't care about anything. I wasn't afraid anymore. I don't care. Like take everything from me if that's what you like. I was just at that point, like, oh, it's whatever, you know. So I needed that. It felt good because it wasn't the actual thing not happening or happening. It was the energy that was taking me over. The fear energy was taking over my soul, where I was in it and it was controlling me. And I was just like, got it, you know. And here we are. And really, that's what miracle season is about. I always tell people, miracles don't come easy, but they're worth it. If you look at a baby that's in the womb with a mom for 8 or 9 months, that mom goes through so much pain, so much transition, so many ups and downs. But on the back end of that, a miracle comes out of baby. Wow. So when you're birthing in a new identity or a new reality or a new life, it's not always going to be the best feeling. And that's okay. And I think that's what I had to get over. Like, it's okay to be in this space and not be as positive or excited. And just surrendered and it made sense.
Mm. It's funny, like we're birthed, right? And we spend the rest of our lives trying to get back to our mother, right? And what we
Mhm.
think that is, that energy, that mother, that the divine
Yeah.
feminine. But yet we wear these masks of masculinity, portraying ourselves to be something totally different than what we are, and playing these roles in which we think we should be playing, and reading from the script that was given to us at birth, and never really connecting with that authentic self that you speak of.
Mhm.
Um, how have you connected with that mother, that aspect that all men, I crave, and
Mhm.
what tools have you used to reach that?
Well, the beautiful thing about the surrendering and the acceptance and the trusting, the allowing of the divine feminine, right? Things started to shift in my life. I removed energy, new energy came in. So I actually met a great friend of mine named Sia, uh, Leah Strela. Hopefully I said her name right. She ain't gonna be mad at me. But she had did a podcast of mine, top of January, I think, or top of February. And she said, I'll come into LA. I'm trying to see where I'm going to move because she was living in Hawaii. And I was telling her my birthday is in March. She said, well, look, I'm coming to LA. I'll do a cacao ceremony for you. I've heard about cacao, but I'm thinking from like dark chocolate. Like, oh, dark chocolate is really good for you. But she's like, no, it's more like a plant medicine. It's indigenous. It's good. It's a heart opener. And at this point, I'm like, all right, let's do something different. So we went to Joshua Tree. It was called to go to Joshua Tree. And the interesting thing happened before we entered the national park of Joshua Tree. I started to cry. Like, and when I'm crying, she's saying like, the ancestors are waiting for you. And at this time, I've been in LA 13 years. I'm like, man, it took me 13 years to tap in with this frequency out here. And I got emotional. And that's how I knew, like, okay, something's about to happen. So we spent like 3 to 4 hours out there. I sipped some cacao. Tastes like hot chocolate, hot cocoa, right? But then prior to that, I had like this hardening around my heart, like, because I didn't trust people because I went through so much pain, heartbreak, and losing things that created who I was. and I had like this hardness, like literally like right here around my heart. And I'm drinking the cacao. And she's like, yeah, just breathe it in and sit with it. And I took a deep breath and then I looked at her and I just started to cry. And I'm just like, wow. And the medicine was speaking through me. It was like she was chose to come into my life so I can trust people again. Because I didn't know this woman from anywhere other than doing a podcast episode that was really amazing. And the cacao just opened me up, and then it started giving me more downloads. It started hitting me like, oh, remember this from last year with your dad, your sister, this, your relationship, all that was to confuse you, to get you on the other side, to pull you away from the light that you're supposed to step into. So I just had like this magical experience in Joshua Tree. I went to the Mojave Desert. I spoke to my ancestors, did all these things that I knew was real. I just never really experienced it. And when I went out there at the Mojave Desert, we did one last offering to Pachamama, and I just got all these downloads like, love, power, love, power. And it was like the more we love ourselves, the more power we get. But what I was doing, because I was afraid of my power, I was loving myself prior to all this, but I was giving my power away. So at that point, I had like this vision of like I was getting this crown, I was getting kinged. And she was like, yeah, you stepped into your kingdom now, you stepped into your power, and I don't have to give it away. And then from there, fast forward, I went from cacao, Joshua Tree in March to being in Peru in May. Hiking Machu Picchu, Inca Trail, experiencing St. Pedro, Wachuma, plant medicine for the first time. And oh, baby, it just took me to a whole nother reality, a whole nother dimension. And it really opened up my heart to see like what life really is. And I realized we don't have to suffer. We hold all the power and abundance within us. Lack and limitation, worry and doubt is created. It's distorted in our consciousness through mass media, social media, the world, the things we read, take in. And it just opened up my heart to say, like, we don't have to struggle. We don't have to suffer. We're here in community. Like, we're supposed to help each other. Like, we're not supposed to take competition that's a low frequency. That's a low vibration to compete with someone, right? So that just took me on this really super duper spiritual journey. And I just jumped so many timelines to come back to now. Like, it's already done. We're already doing what we're supposed to do. I just think some of us are just not in alignment of our soul's assignment or in alignment of our life assignment. And sometimes your life assignment is not enough to fulfill you. That's why when people get married, they have kids, they make the money, they still feel empty. It's because they're not tapped into their soul's assignment. And that's what I'm in now. Before I was in my life assignment that was attached to my ego. I feel like your soul is attached to your God mind and not your ego mind. So you're more centered, you're more fulfilled, you're more complete. And look, the difference is you might not have everything you thought you would have in that moment, but you'll have yourself and you'll have peace. And it just feels good to know the truth without feeling like you gotta, get more brand deals, go on more TV shows, have this, have that. I could just be like this, like, hey, Trey, what up?
I love all of that. I love all that, and I'm
Yeah,
going to hit on like your experience in the different dimensions and how you
yeah,
experience that. But first, I want to say like the socialization process here in the West is for real. I
hmm,
mean, you talk about indigenous cultures and ceremonies and medicine that they experience. I mean, they had ceremonies for everything, every part of life. It was celebrated. Transitioning from being a baby into childhood into manhood, early adulthood into manhood, and then like we don't have that really for ourselves, right? Like, it's just kind of like you graduate high school, you're expected to go to college, and you're expected to do the X, Y, and Z, get the brand deals, be successful, and it's like just very sterile, and there's no meaning behind it. People get married because they think that that's the thing we should be doing. When you get a certain age, you should be in a relationship, and we do these things because we conform to what we've been taught our entire lives, and so conformity is a very intense power that nobody really talks about.
hmm,
It is that pressure that you feel, that anxiety, the neurosis that you feel uh, when you're afraid you're going to when you are afraid that you're going to disappoint people in your life that you've looked up to, your parents, your leaders, societal norms, these programs that you've been programmed with since the very beginning. I should be doing this by this age because if I do, I'm successful. If I don't, I'm a failure. I can't live at home after I graduate college because I'm a loser. I can't take a leap year or whatever it's called, a gap year, and go to travel the world because I would be looked at as a as a loser as well, because all my friends are going to college. I felt like that. Like I remember like going to University of Delaware and like being lost my entire first year, and then transferring back home to a community college. And like those little voices in the back of my mind were like chirping. They were like, "Man, what are you doing, bro? Like you're at a freaking community college. Like you were in National Honor Society. You had like a high GPA. You got the presidential award for graduation at the top of your class. Like now you're at a freaking community college." Like, and then I would go get a part-time job to pay for the car that I had to go buy and rent, or not rent, but lease. And so I'm at this very blue collar, like, working at this tractor supply company, which I love the people there. I have nothing but love for them because they've helped me become the person that I am and showed me what true love, unconditional love is. But I would stand out there at this work location, and it was right across the street from my high school, and I could see the guys playing baseball. I had literally just graduated from high school, and the spring before I was playing with those boys, and the feeling of like shame that I felt was astronomical. Like I couldn't even put my finger on it. I didn't know what it was. It was just like regret of like all the decisions that I had made. And now that I look back at it, it was just like all this, the socialization process of like expectations that you should be here, you should be doing this. And so that pressure of conforming to what society says is successful led me to make choices that satisfied that and got rid of the anxiety that I was feeling. I love my journey. Don't get me wrong. Every step of the way has gotten me to where I'm at today. But there at some point has to be an awakening to that, and a realization of maybe your choices aren't really yours. Like sometimes you're making decisions unconsciously because you're trying to fit a mold that was created for you by someone else. And that can be a game changer, or it could be a game destroyer, depending upon how you look at it, because now your paradigm is cracking. The foundation of which you live your life on, the rules that you have set forth and live your life by, could be ultimately wrong. And I'm very interested in the psychedelics, the plant medicines. Like,
Yeah.
how did they help you see the rules of the game that you set forth in your life?
Well, I want to, before I get into that, I want to, just to piggyback off what you were just talking about, living up to society norms and what they want. And so, one thing I think was great about my journey of leaving Baltimore was that I was living from my own will and from what I wanted to do. My mom, dad didn't put the energy on me. So there was also one moment in my life where I thought I had more power than the universe. You couldn't tell me anything. I had this toxic masculinity. I say all that to say I transformed for good, but then when I started getting to this more spiritual space and I was having success, I was a people pleaser, right? I was so afraid to disappoint people. And that also triggered my awakening because I had to tell myself, like, no, it's time to disappoint people. Mr. Perfect Guy, make people upset. See who love you when you make a mistake. And then you know who your real friends are. And I was so afraid to make a mistake. I was so afraid to disappoint people. I was so afraid to say no. So I'm glad you said that because that's a part of our journey that no one talks about. But I understand that pain of just you don't want to disappoint anyone. So once I allow myself to be human and say, no, I make mistakes. Yep, I messed up. Do you love me? You start really get to see what life is in your own self when you do allow yourself to be human. But fast forward to your question about the psychedelics and St. Pedro and the plant medicine. Um, for me, see the thing is because I've done so much work on myself and have so much information about who I am. Um, I knew I don't know if people listening to this are into astrology. I am, and I know my North Node is in Pisces in the fifth house. So if people have North Node. North Node is a placement within your astrological chart that this is the life you're supposed to live in this lifetime, and your South Node is what you lived in the past life. So in the past life, I was a Virgo, right? So I have Virgo energy, very fixer, healer, structure, mundane, work, 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 work. But having that North Node in Pisces, I gotta trust more. So just to give you some preview before we get into like the psychedelics, I've never smoked marijuana, I never smoked weed a day in my life, and I come from a place where everyone smoked. So I always was like, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. So I knew on this journey, going into this first time doing plant medicine, mind you, I've never smoked weed, but I'm about to go do plant medicine. I had to trust. So this was divine feminine coming in of trusting and knowing that it's something greater and it's okay because it says it in my chart. Like you got to have fun. You got to let go. You got to enjoy life. Like do something that goes against what you would normally do, which is plant medicine. I judge ayahuasca. I'm like, how's it people doing plant medicine, your life not changing? I'm like, bro, you're in Tulum all these months, but your life is not changing. Like, I don't get it. I'm not going to do something that my life is not going to change. I was judgmental, right? Boom, I get to Peru. I'm afraid of heights. I hike these mountains. I'm having these breakthroughs. The plant medicine at that time for me was like, once I make a decision, I'm in it. Like I'm all in. And when I took the medicine, before they tell you, they say, well, this medicine will have you woozy. You'll feel a little off. Like, so mind you, this is my first time. We drink it and it's disgusting, bro. Like, it's so nasty. Like, you set your intentions, they hold space, they create a container where it's sacred and holy and everyone's doing the same thing, and then you sip and it's so bad. And so probably after, like you said, after 20, 30 minutes gonna start kicking in. You start feeling like you drunk, like it's weird, like she was saying, like you're gonna feel woozy. So I know I'm like, mind you, I've never smoked. I'm like, am I high? And like, am I drunk? Like I was so weak, like I could barely like I was in a journey, like I could barely move, and my spirit was like, go over here because we were like in like this big old space, like garden type of thing. It's like 18 of us, including me. I make 19. So I go over to like far end. There's a sofa, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm just like relaxing. Oh, let me just lay down because I feel so weak. Mind you, I've never done this. So I'm like, whoa, what's happening? And I don't know if I'm like, you ever been hungover? You just feel. So then, I start getting downloads, and I'm like, whoa. The first download goes. Remember, I told y'all about the story when I got my king crown in Joshua Tree. So the download I get is like, in order to be a king, you have to receive and you have to ask for help. So my biggest challenge in life is asking for help because I didn't know how to ask for help. When I did, I got rejected. So I took matters in my own hand. I'm not going to ask anybody for help. And it was like, yep, you can't be the gentle giant no more. You can't be the gentle giant giver anymore. That giving phase is over. No more giving. I start crying. Like, what you mean? Like, yeah, you got to ask for help. And I'm like, how do I ask for help? Like, this is me talking to the spirit, right? It's like, you just do it. And so I start getting more down. I say, oh, by the way, you can't write your downloads. I'm like, what? Huh? Yeah, this is where you got to ask for help. So, bro, I'm on it. Mind you, I'm weak. So I had the strength to get up. I had to find my friend Sia, who I told you about. She's hosted these retreats in Peru. And I was like, Sia, like, medicine is telling me, bro, and it's just like I couldn't even ask. Like I just broke down in tears. Like this strong man, I'm just weak. Like I'm like, can you write my like I could write now, like, cause I'm tapping into the energy. Can you like write my messages down? She's like, yeah, whatever you need. And then I'm just in tears, bro. And we sit down. I'm taking a deep breath. And I'm like, damn, that wound is so. And I'm like, this wound is so heavy. And she write like 8 messages. Like, what else? She said, yeah. She's like, this is where the softness coming. This is your divine feminine. I knew you needed this. She said, you're gonna be okay. And then she left, and like my shoulders dropped. I'm like, damn. That's all I had to do was ask for help. And it was so hard. And so then I got more downloads and I got more downloads. And it was just like, it was tough because, then, I started learning more about like all the stuff that was in my way to block me from where I was at. Like the way my life was set up, being, Black, African American descent, all these things, right? I was supposed to, growing up in Baltimore, being raised by kingpins, people were not supposed to sell drugs, right? I skipped that. I was supposed to go to jail. I skipped that. I was supposed to have kids early. I skipped that. And then when I got to LA and got into Hollywood, I was supposed to get into all that dark stuff that happens in Hollywood, right? And get into all the weird stuff. I skipped that. So my spirit was so disciplined, and the medicine tell me like, because you were so disciplined and so strong and go against those grains, that was so easy for you to conform to, like you said. It was so easy to conform to. This is why you can be here and receive this medicine and get these downloads for yourself and the people around you. And it was like, wow. And then I started getting more medicine, downloads about ayahuasca, how, it's used in the world and how people misusing it and abusing it and how they're using celebrities to get, like, it was just so much. So that first journey was interesting. It was tough because I wasn't aware of what was going to happen. It opened up my heart. I actually healed that wound. I felt lighter. And the next day was the integration day where you got to integrate all the messages and all the stuff you written down. You feel light, you feel kind of like weak. But the second day, the second journey, which was probably like 3 days after that, we hiked a few days and we came back, is when I was just like, let's get it. Like, it's kind of like, you go on your second day at the job, you're confident, and the messages was coming through like quick. And I'm just, in this time, I got the happy high. Like, you high, bro. Like, but you're happy. I was so happy. I'm just like, oh, we all went outside and we're dancing. We're all just in the medicine on the journey. And it was like, aha. And then that's where his miracle season started coming to fruition. So it was a moment when I was on my journey, my solar plexus was getting hit. Like I was just laying down, relaxing. And it was just like I was throwing abs, like it was just getting hit. Like I was getting hit from the sky. Like some energies was like hitting my vessel. And so this miracle season was something I channeled in 2017 before I went on the TV show, The Bachelorette. On the after final rose, I was on TV, on the stage. Before I was telling the producer, like, it's miracle season. But it just came to me, Trey. Like, it was just like, I don't know. And the producer, like, I think you should say that. So I go on stage, 2017, March, and everything I wanted to say, I said, and I said, it was meant to be, will be. It's miracle season. But I don't know what I was saying. It foreshadowed on the show. I went through so much hell and dark and light. I fell in love. I traveled the world. My dreams came true. Boom. That was my miracle season. I didn't end up with a girl, but I won my season for me. But what I didn't know was this frequency was moving through me. I had to go to Peru to kind of activate it. So what people don't know about words, right? Or things or entities, there's a transmission that comes through. It's miracle season. So what I realized when I was out there and I was getting all these hits in my solar plexus, and it was just like I was getting charged up. It's weird. Is that it's miracle season is a healing frequency that ends all suffering. Right? It's literally its own consciousness. It's its own race. It's its own thing. Just like anything, like, Apple products or, Fidelity or Nike, everything holds a vibration. I remember a friend telling me, he said, now that you're on ABC's frequency, you're attached to that frequency for the rest of your life. So like Baltimore, I'm attached to the frequency of Baltimore the rest of my life, no matter where I go, because it's a consciousness, it's an energy. So this what this was, and I went to Peru to get it activated to now know you ain't got to do nothing. If you look at this, if you wear this, it's going to be healing parts of you. You might not understand it might not make sense, but that's why they say be aware of what you're watching on TV, what you're reading in books, even like the Bible or the Quran or certain scriptures has an activation in it that makes you even feel weak or feel strong. So that was cool to get the download about that, and it was just a beautiful. And look, everybody journey. It was people that hallucinating. It was one guy. I was like, get these demons out of me. Like, bro, I thought I was in a movie. I'm like, people throwing up, like crying. Like, I saw a guy almost die and guy came back. Like, it was wild. Like, I was telling my friend, like, we got to get the cameras. They got to see Eric Bigger looking like this because I was off. Like, I was weak. I was like, this is the real me. This is what people need to see. And the thing I realized, there wasn't a lot of men out there. It was 3 men. It was like 19 of us. I was one. The other guy was there with his wife. And then there was another guy, older guy, he probably was in his 70s, trying to clear energy with his wife, who was back home in England, in the UK. So everybody else are women. I'm like, there's no men. Where the men at? We need this. So it was one of those experiences where it was like, right now, I can bring that experience right back into the day and feel the energy. I feel like I was in a movie. I honestly felt, because I've been on so many reality shows, it's like I was looking for the cameras. Like, where's the cameras at? Like, this is a TV show. Because it was so real. And I'm like, this is what people need to see. The soft side, the weak side, the vulnerable side of not only me, but just people. And the thing that gave my heart so much joy is that these people just want to win. They want to be better. They like lost. They just, I just want to find myself. I'm just not happy. And I got kids and, all these things. And I was like, that's what I love about people. Because that, there's this one woman named Katrina. She is so amazing. She lives in Tampa. And she was like right across from me. And she was in her journey. She's like, I just feel so much love. If you can feel the love I'm feeling, you just understand it. Whatever. And I was just like, it was just so beautiful because it's like, I love that. She was so her. She said, I just feel so much. Like, she was in tears, like, Trey, bro, I thought I was in a movie. Like, is this real? And then they got the dogs running around. The dogs in Peru are like angels. They just walk. They just run the streets. They have no owners, and the dogs that was there, they knew we needed them to heal. If we were like feeling off, they would come and lay next to us. It was like magical, bro. Like it was like, yo, it's the real magic and miracles is in nature, right? In plants, like literally, a plant gave me that experience.
Sure.
So it was incredible, bro. Like even think about it now, you brought me back. Like wow, those codes, those frequencies are so, man. It just feels so good. Like I don't know what you just activated, bro, but you brought that. No, seriously, because I can feel that sacredness of Peru like in me now. Like it feels so good, man. And listen, here's the thing. I tell people, I only recommend people doing plant medicine if they're called to do it. I was called to do it. It wasn't like, oh, I was going to do plant medicine because I want to fit in. Like, no, I was called to do the medicine. And it wasn't ayahuasca, which everyone does. It was Wachuma, it was the grandfather medicine, which they say is a little softer, it's more gentle. It's not as aggressive. But that was my journey. That was my experience. Just like when people ask me on TV, how was it? Oh, this was my experience. I can't speak on his because we're totally two different people, right? So it was beautiful, and you feel things, you know things, and then you start getting downloads for other people. It really was a miracle, like happening. It was just wow.
Thank you for sharing that, man. That was beautiful. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah,
it's something about nature. I've been doing a lot of research on vision quests and going out in nature and just setting this container of sacredness. And we've
yeah,
lost that connection. I think just through, what, 90% of I'm throwing this out because I've just recently heard this. I can't fact check it. I just heard it during an interview with a scientist. It was like 90% of our population spends majority of their time inside. And so that automatically creates a separation between the mother divine and, nature in general. And so I think there's so many different healing frequencies out in nature to where you open yourself up and get into an altered state of consciousness and then allow those entities and energies to come help you and have these different experiences. And it could just be grounding. It can be forest bathing. It could be breath work in the woods. But a lot of the vision quests are like 3 to 4 days in nature, like secluded from anyone else. 3 to 4 days of fasting to get into an altered state. And then you start seeing all the programs fall away. Like just the fact that you have to eat 3 times a day. I mean, that's a program. Like you don't need food. You
yeah,
don't need to
yeah,
eat 3 times a day. Like it's
yeah,
just, but you do see the programs come up. Like I did a men's retreat kind of thing. And, we had to stare at another man's eyes, and I could feel the programs come up in me of like, why are you doing this? This is so gay. These are the voices that I've
yeah,
heard growing up.
yeah,
These homophobic voices that were programmed in me. And then after like the fourth round, I just started like having this like intense like love for this person. I don't know how else to say it, but it was like, I know that I am the awareness behind your eyes, and I can't understand it or like scientifically prove this, but like I know you from somewhere. Like I know you. And as the programs fell away, the more open I could be and allow my heart to open a little bit more. And then there was just a connection, like you're talking about, an interconnected connectedness that it's like entanglement. Like, you talk about the
yeah,
Baltimore frequency, like you always have
yeah.
that. Like you and I will always have this connection because of this
Right.
conversation. You know what I mean? Because
Right, right, right.
we're entangled, right?
We're in a portal. That's what I say. You got a portal here. Superior self, your superior self podcast. This is a portal. This is a frequency. This is a consciousness. The words, the logo, it's a transmission. There's energy moving through it that when people get on here, they don't even know they're activated, and you're activating something without even saying anything. And I think what I learned about the journey is that the medicine told me that we are the medicine. You are the medicine. Everything you've been through is your medicine. And here's the thing. You don't have to go experience psychedelics to have the experience I have. You can go to nature, just like Trey said, and get into that space, that sacredness, that wholeness, that oneness, wherever you got to eat less and be more present and sit still. You can tap into that frequency and become the medicine and get the downloads and get the synchronicities and get the truth to come out, because nature does that for you.
Sure. It's
You
just all
know?
tools. it's all tools like to like what psychic mediums use, channelers use, Joe Dispenza uses, you're using with psychedelics. It's all like, oh, this is outside of me. I'm going to take it. It's going to cure me. I'm going to have these experiences, which they
Yeah.
can, right? But there's also like different tools you can do, breath work, modalities, binaural beats, meditations, guided meditations, silent meditations, darkness retreats. Like all these things are just tools to get
Tools.
you
Yeah.
out of your brain, your ordinary
Program.
brain.
I like that. The
Yeah,
program.
and to like really escape the matrix, escape Plato's cave, get to see a little bit like, but here's the thing though, dude, is like what you experienced was your experience. And is that the truth? We don't know. That's the mystery, right? So it's like in
Mhm.
Plato's cave where he escapes the cave and he starts experiencing a different dimension, a different existence, a different reality. Like he can't even navigate through the entire process. Like he can't even see anything because his vision has been clouded because of the darkness. And so like a little bit of light like really hurts his eyes and he can't really see anything. He can't see forms. He can't see himself. But over time, as you get used to this environment, used to this reality, you start seeing things as they are. And then finally, you're able to look at the sun, which is the truth, the good that Plato talks about. And you have this self transcendent moment of like, oh, I am that. And then you go back into the cave to go tell your homies and your boys back home, hey, look, I found the truth. I found the sun.
Right.
Let's
Right.
go. Break these chains. We're out of here. And they're like, bro, you're crazy. No, I don't believe you 1 second. Like there's nothing in my being that believes you. And they'll even go as far as trying to kill you, as Plato would term it, because it messes with their paradigm and messes with their reality. And so when we have these conversations, when someone makes a post about a men's retreat and doing men's work, it automatically gets hate because of the shadow, the doubt, the idea that men can't be like this. It's it is the wounded masculine coming out and showing itself because we are messing with people's paradigms of what they thought reality was. And when you introduce new potentials, new realities, it automatically freaking creates this anxiety inside of us, this neuroses of like, oh my God, I got to go through change to be something new. But on the other side of that is the truth, the potential of being something new, a newer reality to be experienced, like what you're experiencing now. You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's beautiful, man, because the polarities of prior to all of it, right? I was in this paradigm of the matrix of what I thought life was, what I thought love was, what I thought sacredness was, and you partner with someone, relationship, and like, oh, I think this love, and then you have all this, contrast and chaos, and then you get on the other side of that, and you realize like, oh, there are a lot of spiritual women in the world that really understand, that really get it, that are so safe. And because when we talk about relationships, at least for men and for women, I think it's most for women. Women want to feel safe, but I also tell women that men want to feel safe, right? And sometimes as men, if we're not healed or evolved, we look at what we see that is fun, that might appear to be safe. But when we actually get in that container with that person, because we go with our eyes and not our heart, right? We might not feel as safe if we want to because maybe we're not safe with ourselves. So I say all that to say, on the other side of it, show me like, wow, there are people, women in the world that do this work, that are healed, that can hold space for you. Because I had this narrative that I'm too much for someone. They can't handle me. I'm too evolved. And it's like, no, you're just not evolved enough to know that someone can meet you where you're at and understand you and not judge you. And it's such a beautiful thing because when you were talking, I realized too, like the dark night of the soul is a journey as well. Like it's like you're on a different type of plant
Mm-hmm.
because it's like I had to go through that to get to the real plant, right? And that was medicine too. It just wasn't medicine I wanted to really take anymore. Like the matrix is a medicine that we get programmed into. It's kind of like when you come into life, it's like, oh, you want to take, we ain't gonna say red or blue. You want to take the white pill, you want to take the black pill, right? Which one you want. And the white pill is going to be the one that everyone takes that is so common and like, yeah, this is life. And then you realize like, hold on, I don't really fit in with this one. Let me go to the other side. So, but like you said, everyone has a different calling. Everyone are in different phases of their life. I just think people should just be open to something different and new if that's what they want. I've always been curious. That's been my biggest weapon in life, my curiosity.
Sure.
I'm curious. I want to know your superior self. What does that mean? Break it down. Let's get to the root. How did
100%.
he come up with that? Right. So it's
Well,
just
even
beautiful.
thinking like that, right? Like think like personal. I grapple with this question a lot and just try to just think about it and not be analytical, but like really just philosophize like how would I would answer this question? Like if I was new to this earth today without any previous knowledge of where, what this place is, like how would you be?
Right.
And it's like, well, you would have to like look at your environment and you would have to study other individuals. And then you would have to mimic what they do to survive. And then after a while, you would forget who you are and then start living life like they do. It's like that curiosity of going back to that, who am I? Right.
Yeah, and I always
Like,
had that question. Yeah.
I mean, if I didn't know anything about this place and I just showed up here, like, how would I live? I mean, how would you live?
And that's the thing. I mean, I'm in the process. I'm working on a new project, and I'm thinking about things like my childhood and where I come from. And someone was saying, like, Eric, to be where you are, you had to go against the grain. So to harp on what you're saying, and this is why I think it's not good for people to judge people because you don't know. Like there was a rap, I think Young Jeezy was saying, "How can I judge a young man for selling drugs if that's all he knows? This is what he grew up in. That's his paradigm. So how is it wrong to him if that's all he knows?" So that was also part of my paradigm growing up because that was easy to do. But I went against that to be who I am. And that's why I was able to get out because some people don't get out of the energy of that. Because if that's all you see, how can you be something else? You can't be something you've never saw before. Like even if you don't watch TV, like you don't know that there's basketball, football unless you have a TV. So for me, I think I will kind of engulf and experience life from what it is, which I did back home, but then think about like, okay, like if I'm into something, how do I really feel? I'm always big on how I feel about things. Like, oh no, this doesn't feel right, right? So I don't think I should be doing this. I think that's also been something that was gifted to me was my attunement to myself and my intuition. And it's hard. So people say, I don't understand what's wrong with this person. I don't understand why they acting like that. It's like you don't know their story. So I have a close family member who's been a very, I don't want to say the word victim. They had a very, very tough upbringing. I've been very close to them. And I was talking to my healer. I was like, oh, can you kind of tap in and kind of tell me? And he's like, when this person was conceived, when they was born, their unsafe was safe, right? So unsafety was safe to them as a baby. So as they got older, all the decisions that will put them in danger was safe to them. So they made decisions from that space, but they don't know the difference. So when people looking at this individual, they're judging them from all the mistakes they made, all the decisions they made, and realizing like you don't know when it was conceived, like whatever was happening with the mom and dad, that was off, but for them, for that person, they felt safe in an unsafe energy and they lived from that paradigm. They made all this so and so mistakes, but to them, it's not mistakes because it was safe to them. Like, honestly, I have a nephew right now. He doesn't feel safe in structure. And I tell my mom, I tell my sister, I said, look, he's going to grow up. And if he don't have structure, the world will put him in structure. But if you're not used to that because you don't have no men around, it's hard to kind of, your nervous system don't know like, oh no, you got to go to bed at this time. Oh, we got to go do this. Like, but I can't judge him for feeling that way. I just know because I'm his uncle and I'm aware of what he didn't get as a child. So I'm not going to make him feel bad about it. I'm just going to try to help him understand why he needs it. Right. And so go back to your point. We come into life. Like, why do we speak English? Why do I have to speak English? What if I want to speak Portuguese? But this is what's told. Why is the sky blue? Why do we gotta go to school? Who gave words meaning? Where did they come from? These are all my thoughts as a kid. Like this is what I was thinking when I was young. Okay, God, Jesus, Bible, Christianity, Catholic, like like these are the thoughts that was moving through my head as a child. I'm like, tell me more. I'm curious. My curiosity was leading me to these different dimensions within myself to get me to a point like, I get it. So everyone doesn't have that thought pattern, but everyone is doing what they think they should do. Until you
100%.
think that's not what I want to do. I want to be free. In order to be me, I must be free. In order to be free, I must be me. Some people are just tired of the old paradigm of the world.
Sure. Like Plato talked about this in one of his writings about virtue and how you define virtue. And
Mm-hmm.
he's like essentially saying you can't put a standard virtue definition out there because every man's idea of virtue is different. Like to your point of what is good and what is bad. Like, who am I to judge that when I don't know how you've lived? Like, I don't know the shoes that you've walked. And so, like, a lot of us think that there's a standard way of being when in actuality, everyone's reality is different. So they're gonna value things differently. They're gonna learn things. They're your good and bad are different than my good and bad. And like, who's to say it's all good and bad? It's really the idea that we define as good as bad is because what we've been taught, right? And just not to go down like ethics, and have like a deep. I can have a deeper conversation about ethics, but I think at this level of conversation, I think it's important to know and just have an awareness that everyone has a different world. They have a different. They're walking through a different storm, essentially, and to not judge and to really. I think it cultivates a deeper sense of compassion for people if you can have that awareness, like to know, like you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think I've learned that when I was in Peru talking to a friend. It's like there's no evil in the world. There's no bad. Anything that you consider as bad is just people acting out their pain. That's it. It just is. It's like love. There's no good. There's no bad. That's all your interpretation, your meaning, and context you give it. And I was like, damn, that's kind of true. He's like, yeah, people just if anything you see as evil, people are just acting out their pain because it's too hard to get into their love space. So they got to act
Sure.
out their pain. And I'm
And
like,
it's also
oh,
where you're at too. Like I can sit
yeah,
here and say, like, having the privilege that I have and being where I am at and having the resources that I have, like I can't speak to people that are in different countries that don't have those, you know what I mean, those resources or those rights or the opportunities that I have. Like I can't speak to that. And like I can't really, I can generally speak from my experience, and I can't say, what they're experiencing isn't bad because I have never experienced that. But again, to define bad is to really it's up to the own subjective experience of that individual. I think that's where we have to have compassion for people, even if we fully don't understand where they're at. Like it's helped me in the sense that when I see people, like I work in Baltimore, and I see a lot of the younger generation and kids running the streets at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. at night, and it really hurts me a lot. Like it just I imagine my kid, those are my kids, like out there running the streets and really just not having a home. Like in Baltimore, like during COVID, like a lot of the kids were affected because they couldn't go to school anymore, and a lot of them that was the only time they ate. Right, is at
yeah,
lunchtime.
right.
And so, like, how do you fix all of that? I mean, it's just a tough question. I have to have more compassion for those people, like just because of
Mhm.
of one, the generational trauma, and then two, just the energy that they're absorbed in, and just
Mm,
hopefully the service that I provide and just having these conversations and how I walk in this world, hopefully I can plant a seed somewhere to awareness, a realization of something greater than themselves, and hoping that, through a conversation, through a nice act of kindness, through like just a warm glance or like a donation or like something that I provide of service in this world will affect that consciousness in some way to where they can have some deeper insights about who they are and what they can do for themselves, if any of that makes sense.
yeah, and I think the biggest thing that I feel like you challenge a new type of frequency of consciousness for the universe, for the planet, because it makes me think about war, right? Or think about religion or culture. It's like a lot of us are so entitled for people to understand our way of living or our way of being. I think there should be some type of program or module to say, look, life is about understanding, and everyone is not going to think the same because they didn't grow up the same. So if you're on this side and you think they should be the way you are, then you're confused. That's not real life. Until we can have that authentic compassion, that had that radical grace to know, like, look, you're looking at it from your angle, and I respect that and I appreciate it, but it doesn't mean it's true for that person.
Sure.
Like I had someone tell me about someone like, I don't understand how a girl could go and strip at a nightclub. And I was like, yeah, have you ever asked what she's been through or what she went through when she was a child? I said, so we so quick to judge what we see, but we don't understand what we don't know.
Hmm.
I said, people are not making decisions because it's like, oh, I want to go do this. It's like, it's coming from an anchor point that you don't know about. And that's why it's hard for people to understand. But yeah, but there's no but. You got to understand where your thoughts and your beliefs come from. Someone ingrained those or put those on you. Doesn't make it wrong. It's just, you just gotta open up. And I think that's what we need, right? Like all the divide in the world, we got, the political debate, politics. It's like everyone's trying to get you to be on their side, but there's no one side for all, but there's one side for all, if that makes sense. And that's collective consciousness.
100%, right?
You
Like,
know what
yeah,
I mean? Like
yeah.
collectively, if I'm the dark and you're the light, it's all in our conscience, and we're on the same team. It's going to be all in our vessel, right? If we're together, you know,
So,
as
yeah,
one
like, to your
supposed to.
point, though, in politics, like, you hate on the Dems, you hate on the Republicans, like,
Right.
it's all you essentially anyway, but you try to have these conversations. Like, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is a real thing. Like, somebody who's struggling with security and, groundedness is not gonna be able to have conversations like that because 'cause they're always fighting for survival. You know what I mean? Like, I could fall off this, this wagon right now and lose everything, and I would be in fight for survival mode, and I wouldn't be able to listen to this. It's all in where you're at, right, in your
Yeah,
journey.
yeah,
So, like,
yeah,
people, refugees and people that are running for their lives, you can't sit down and have a conversation. "Hey, guess what, man? Like, you have a higher self and collective consciousness, and you are
right.
conscious creator." Like, you can't have those
They're not
conversations
trying
with
to hear
people.
that, right?
No, they're trying to
Yeah,
figure out where they can have their next meal. How can they save their children? How can they just live for the next day, the next hour, the next minute? So you always have to have that perspective of like where people are at in their lives. Like, my answer to this, and this is just my philosophy, is like, you just keep shining your light, bro. Like, you be the
yeah,
lighthouse in the storm. It doesn't matter what storm it is. You just keep shining that light, and then hopefully, right? If you be service, then you'll be taken care of. It's like that saying. Someone said this the other day. Like, you do your dharma will protect you.
yeah. And it's interesting you say to be the lighthouse in the chaos and the storm. I had got a healing probably like a year ago, and I was just telling the woman, she called herself the Urban Monk. She's an Asian lady. She was in New York. She's so powerful, bro. You gotta follow her. She's like beautiful energy. And I had just got out of my relationship, and I was heartbroken. She was like, heartbreak, you so small. You have such a big message here on the universe. You're the messenger. That's so small what you're here to do. And she said something. I said, yeah, I just feel like, she said, you feel stuck because you're not letting everything out of you. You have more to give. She said, and anytime you feel off and stuff, I mean, you need to give everything. She said, give away everything, help more people. And guess what? The universe is going to take you. Say, what's going to happen? What's the worst going to happen? Everything is going to be like, no, give all. The universe is going to replenish you. You probably can't get what you give to people from another person. The universe is gonna get. So you feel low because it's like your thing is your cup is full and it's overflowing. You just tip it over, dump it all out.
Reciprocity, right? Like,
Yeah,
I give out the love and the energy that I have, I receive it back. But when I guard it and this fear, you know what I mean? Like, oh, this, what is it?
because of the
Lack
heartbreak was
scarcity.
keeping me.
Yeah.
The heartbreak was keeping me here, closed off. Like I don't have enough to give. It's like no, you even have more to give now. But I was so fixated on like, oh, I'm hurt. It's like no, you're not. You're actually healing. But that's why you got to give it out, get it out,
That's exactly
get
right.
it
And like,
out.
when you're in like Baltimore
Yeah,
station, or you're in New York station, or in LA and downtown, and like, you don't necessarily need to give, like, I mean, if you have money, give money, but like, you can also give love, right? You're like, just
yeah,
focus on that individual and just say, I send you my love. That is the same thing
yeah,
energetically. And people, like, we just think in this 3D reality, this physical reality, we have to give things. I could sit here and just give you love, Eric,
right.
and you know what I mean? That's the universe will give it right back to me through you. So it's like the reciprocity, right? Like, just, it doesn't need to be physical. It can be physical. I can give you something like a seashell that I carry, or a rock that I have here, or these,
Yeah.
you
Or
know
I'll
what I
give
mean?
you, get some amorous for you,
That's right.
We get what we give, you know what I'm saying?
100%, dude.
Yeah.
Hey, man,
So
this has been awesome, bro. Like, I just love the fact that you're a Baltimore boy, and like, just being able to grind out with you here on this platform and have a conversation that's deep, deep, deep. And the work that you're doing, man, I can't thank you enough for stopping by and taking the time to chat it up.
yeah, well, thank you, man. This was an honor. I'm so grateful. I'm so happy, and this is what it's about. This is what I envisioned 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I want to create things that can be timeless, that can be priceless, that be to build a legacy, to give it back to the universe. Everything I'm creating, everything, even this interview, is gonna be some 5 years from now. Somebody will come back and say, "Man, those guys were tapped in, man. This is the new stuff." You see it's like the Neville Goddards or the Napoleon Hills and the Bob Proctors. It's like it's gonna be us, right? 20 years from now. So people don't understand what we're creating now is history. And so that's why I always try to show up with authenticity, intentionality, pray before I do things. And it's bigger than us. It's bigger than me. And I just want the world to heal and raise the frequency. And if people open to receive the medicine, great. If not, I see them when I'm supposed to. And if not, they'll do what they got to do to be what they need to be. And This is what your superior self is about. Showing up your best self, even when you
Mm,
don't feel like it.
100%. Eric Bigger, how can we connect with you? How can they reach out?
Oh man, just go to Instagram. Just go to Eric Bigger, EricBigger. Just check out my page. DM me, connect with me, follow my story. I got products available, books, one-on-one coaching. But before that, before people even want to work with me, I said, just get to know me. Like, follow me for a few weeks and see if I resonate with your soul. Because I'm all about building rapport, right? I think sometimes people try to jump in like, oh, woo, unless this podcast really activated something like, yo, I want to work with you. Then by all means, come in, click the link, let's get on a call. But see for yourself, right? Like, because everything I say might not resonate, or everything I will say will resonate. But I'm here to help the people that are called to come into my frequency, not everybody, because I think that was my problem. I want to help everybody, and it's like, but you really can't, because everybody's not relatable to you in the way you think they are, and vice versa. So, like I said, I want to open invitation to any and everybody who's supposed to be in my space that I can serve, or I can even get help from. Right? It's not. I don't have to always be giving service. I can receive service. So, hit me up. My email is it's miracleseason@gmail.com. But other than that, just go to Instagram, tune in, tap in. And by the way, I do have a podcast, Spiritual Fitness Podcast. Check out my recent episode about my Peru journey, sacred land, and I'm talking about all those things. But other than that, that's it. That's how you can find me, and let's connect. It is Miracle Season. This was great, and I wish everybody the best in every way, every day.
It's miracle season, baby. Eric, man, this has
Yeah.
been powerful, brother. Thank you.
Yes, yes. You're welcome. Peace and love.